I kind of take the first few seconds because if I don't delay like this, I end up saying something that's important, and then the YouTube video cuts it off midstream, so you don't get to hear it anyway. So here I am wasting some time. But anyway, you know, we have all heard, I believe most of us have heard of the 6 degrees of separation, right? Okay. And folks can go ahead and nod in my strip so that we can see that I'm on the right track. Thank you. So the 6 degrees of separation, what the 6 degrees of separation revolve around is a theory that everything and everyone is connected or can be connected in 6 or fewer steps. And by way of introduction, from one other person to another person, or a chain of friend to friend statements, and all it takes to meet anyone in the world, inclusive of every single person, is 6 steps. That's the whole idea. Now, I believe that this applies to networking in any field or any business. But instead of counting the points of separation, I want to handle it a little differently. I want to call it the 6 degrees of syncopation. Now, why would I do a thing like that? Syncopation. Syncopation refers to a phenomenon in music where we have a placement of rhythms and accents and stresses where they don't normally occur, which kind of describes all the people contributing to the orchestration symphony of the world, because we're all different. So anyway, the way I see it is these accents or the stresses are a unique value proposition that each of us have with our business or with ourselves, making us individuals, and that we each offer our little special bit to the music of socialization, and the result is a harmonious symphony, or maybe a train wreck. So it could be one of those two things, but hopefully if you play your cards right, you do have a symphony. So greetings and welcome to Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. Now I'm well aware of that wherever you are, it may not be morning, and I appreciate literally worldwide, wherever you're joining us from, I appreciate you taking the time and being with us today. Thank you very much. And my name is Roland from R and D Hotline, and if you have a question regarding internet marketing, call the hotline. And you know, we're internet marketing generalists, and we have strong opinions. So what we say here is, and Zara helped me refine this, quit your pitching. And outbound is out and inbound is in, a couple of things that we stand for. So everything that goes on in this show is about engagement marketing. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. And so let's get back around to the subject matter, and I'm going to be introducing my squad of guests today in just a moment. But fortunately, we didn't have a train wreck, and we have 6 degrees of syncopation, which I'm going to present to you here, and hopefully our 6th degree of syncopation will join us before we finish this little escapade and symphony. But I would like to start off with my guests. I'm going to introduce Duran, because I've known him the longest of all of you. And Duran is the president of Rewardster, which is a customer engagement and loyalty marketing concept. And he'll tell you a little bit about himself. Go ahead, Duran.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Duran, president of Rewardster. We help turn your infrequent customers into loyal customers, and your loyal customers into the most dedicated and cost-effective marketing team your business will ever have. That's it. Thanks, Roland.
Okay, thank you, Duran. And next we have Barbara Quick. Barbara Quick is a blogger, and she has a couple of websites, dogsandtheirowners.com and discoveryhealthhappiness.com. And she's a very good friend of mine. And please say hello to Barbara. And Barbara, say hello.
Hi there, everyone. Yeah, I have fun blogging, and I'm getting to the point of pretty soon now trying to monetize my 2 sites and kind of looking into the different possibilities there.
Great. What I like probably most about her whole concept is Barbara's Dogs and Their Owners website with the byline, Dogs and Other Important People. And that I dig. I just dig it. So anyway, moving on, we have Karen V. Chin, who is a San Francisco marketer and a social media engagement specialist. And I could go on talking about her, but I'm going to let her talk. Go ahead. Go ahead, Karen.
Thanks, Roland, for having me today. Yeah, I'm out here. I'm a marketing consultant, social media engager. I have been here on the Google Plus platform for about 5 months now. And I have actually a community that we're going to talk about today in terms of Roland and how we actually connected. And I wanted to also give a shout outs today for the audience. I'm also dual helping Roland be his wing person. And wanted to shout out that we've got Candy and John and Bruno, Michael Thomas, Jeremy, Monica, and I think Ron is out there in the audience. So welcome. We've got Comment Tracker working, so I actually can see it now. So we have a really good show today.
Okay, thank you, Karen. And I am very proud to say that I had Comment Tracker working before anyone else got here, and I remembered to turn off my Showcase app and my Q&A app, and dastardly things those are. But I remembered, and so it's working out. So you pick up little clues, one here, one there, and it gradually erases some of the problems. But of all the webinars, of all the Hangouts that I've witnessed in the last 3 or 4 days, not one of them went off without a hitch. Every single one had some kind of problem. As Zara says, what is it you say? A Hangout without a...
What's a Hangout without a freak out? And there's something goes glitchy every time.
So I don't feel so bad if we're off on the right directive right now. So with that involved, let's go to Zara Altair from Midweek Zap, and I love her little byline, and that goes, up-to-date, actionable information to online marketers. In a nutshell, short and sweet. Go ahead, Zara, please.
That's pretty much it for the Midweek Zap. I just one of the things about the Midweek Zap, which is a Hangout on Air on Google Plus live broadcast, also preserved on YouTube, is that we look for actionable advice. I want people to leave the Hangout with things they can do immediately. So that's pretty much the focus. And one of the things about that Hangout, speaking of involvement with other people, is how engaged and involved the audience is. And I get apology notes from people who are like, "Oh, I can't make your Hangout this week because fill in the blank," and I just got one this morning. I'm so sorry. Everybody wants me to redo their site to be mobile, so I haven't been there, but I'll be back in April. Don't worry. Part of engagement and connecting with people is really paying attention, and paying attention to, if you're doing a Hangout, paying attention to your audience. So, and they're fun. I mean, that's the whole thing, I think, is Hangouts are fun to do, and especially if you're dispensing information at the same time. So, that's me, Zara, and I also do help people with Google Plus setup and do audits for their profile and their page. I'm also silent director for HOAs. If you don't want to do everything, I can come in and no one ever sees me, but I help you do that stuff. Also help people with their web presence for business growth.
Thank you, Zara. And I can vouch for Zara. She came along about a month ago and just completely saved my butt. and I was just before a Hangout was starting, and I couldn't get things to work, and just was really lost. Well, I'm learning by default, experience, and so Zara came and helped me jump forward in my experience and straighten out a couple things. So I started getting on the right track that way. So thank you very much. Yeah, she's good stuff. And next, I would like to introduce Molly Youngblood Geiger, and she has a community called Marketing Online, Leveraging YouTube. And I'm just going to call her the Google lady because she's got all these titles related to Google. And go ahead, Molly, introduce yourself.
Hi, Roland. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, I do have my online community, Marketing Online, Leveraging YouTube, and also running a weekly hangout as well on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am closely working with Google in the sense that I am an active member in the Google Partners community, where I am a Google Partners ambassador. And I also participate in the Google Small Business community, where I'm a Google Small Business advisor. In addition to that, I also provide digital services such as website design, development, graphic design, search engine optimization, pretty much any product related to Google, Google AdWords, analytics, shopping, My Merchant Center, Google My Local, Google Maps, anything related to Google products, I pretty much have a handle on. So thanks so much for the opportunity to introduce myself.
Good stuff, Molly. There's no way I'll remember all of that, so I'm just going to turn it over to you and say, Molly, do your stick right now. Thank you, you guys. That's everybody that I have with us today, and I did have a sixth person, one of the newest people that I've met, and her name, and you will know who she is probably, is Kristin Drysdale. And why did I do that? Because we had a show, 2 shows in a row on hashtags last week and the week before that, and we had hit hashtags pretty hard and worked on the concept of the case for hashtags. In other words, why would you use them? And then we moved on to that, how to use hashtags and how they're gonna benefit you. And by golly, if you're talking about social media, you definitely have to think about hashtags. And that's the best start, as I can say. There's a lot to learn, but it's not brain surgery, but you do have to get a little handle on what's going on with that. I'm very pleased to say that most of the people that we have today as authorities really focus on Google+. Now, before I met any of you, except for Duran, I've been talking about Google+ for about 2 years. And a year ago, I wanted to start having Hangouts. A year ago, January was my goal. By golly, I'm going to get a Hangout going, and January 1st, here we come, and I'm going to schedule it. And almost a whole year went by, 10 months before I actually had it going. So, best laid plans of mice and men, but if you stick with it, eventually it comes true. So all I had to do was pick up the ball and run. So we're going to go back now to the top of this, and hopefully if Kristin comes in later on, we'll tap into that so that she fills in the blanks on the very end. But even if she does, we'll be able to fill in the blanks so you understand what I'm getting at today. But anyway, my first degree of syncopation, in this case, was actually involving music and involving Duran. So what I would like to do is bring Duran back now to say a few words on how we met, our journey, which is, I don't want you to get really, really into it because a lot has gone on in this guy's life with me. But you go ahead and do whatever encapsulating you can and tell the people a few minutes about our journey together.
So you may or may not know, Roland is quite an experienced individual in life. He has unique talents besides internet, and one of them is music. And it's one of his passions, and it was actually one of my passions as well, and we met singing karaoke. Excuse me.
You want to say that again?
Karaoke. Sure. So he was what they call a KJ, a karaoke jockey, and he would put up music, and I was one of those people who walked in with dark sunglasses and got up to the microphone and sang. And so, well, at least that's what they called it. But that's how we met. I'd say as soon as we got to know one another, we realized that we wanted to spend more time getting to know one another. We lived pretty close to one another, we figured out, so realized we had a lot of the same interests, and 25 plus years later, here we are.
Okay. Now, brief comment on that. I will admit to being a karaoke jock back in those days, a couple of decades ago. And, you know, I want to tell you folks, if any of you musicians out there or music buffs are thinking about taking your CD players and your computer and becoming a karaoke jock, let me tell you the scoop. It is the least amount of money that you're going to make for the most amount of work, period. You're going to have fun singing, but it's just really, really not the easiest thing in the world.
Nobody uses the CD players anymore, Roland. Sorry.
Say again?
They don't use CD players anymore, my friend. That's how old we are. It's all on laptops off of the audio files.
There's a lot to be said for things other than non-digital files too. In other words, like when people come up to karaoke, they can bring their own CDs if they have their special song. And not all karaoke jocks have all songs. Nowadays, they're getting easier. But anyway, we had a major start in music. But that's just the start. From there, Duran introduced me to web design and got me started with my first book on web design. And he just said, you know, you got to get started somewhere. Here's a book. And I read about it, and taught myself the basics of web design. That's how I got started in the industry over 2 decades ago. So he was my first link in the 6 degrees of syncopation. And then we went through a lot of things between there and now. 2 decades, you know. But we've remained friends. How do we do that?
You smiled after you said that.
Yeah, we remain friends for sure, and I've really definitely learned a lot from Duran.
I think that's the definition of friends: is that you remain connected to one another even after long layoffs, problems, issues. That's what friends do.
Yeah, definitely so. So moving on to one of my newer friends, because of social media interaction, and now social media definitely kicks in. I met Barbara about 8 months ago, and I'm going to let her tell exactly how we met and a little bit about our relationship and journey. And Barbara, if you'd like to you take it from here.
Yeah, we met on LinkedIn. I liked some of the comments that Roland was making, and he actually used punctuation and capitals and everything, which I liked. In fact, I even emailed him or I guess private message and told you that I liked that. We had a young fellow that he was trying to coach on LinkedIn to no avail. And this fellow had all the latest schemes and scams that he was promoting, and neither one of us thought that was a good idea. And so, plus this fellow just typed everything small case, no capitals, no periods. You had to try and guess what he was trying to say. It was very interesting, to say the least. And so anyhow, Roland and I, that was how we met, and then he's been helping me get my website set up, and my 2 websites had been through companies before, and now I own them. I bought the domains, and so, because one of them disappeared on me, took all my information with it, and so I learned the hard way how you do it right. And Roland's been a big help with that.
Thank you, Barbara. Now, you and I have gone along in a similar trend, and I need to back up and ask Duran this question too. But we've we've been experiencing social media a lot together, and there are things that we've picked up on from Karen and so forth. She'll go into more of that later. But what are your plans for involvement in social media in the near future?
In mine?
Yeah.
Well, I won a free class setting up a Facebook page, business page, and then which was really great. I learned a lot of things there that I had no knowledge of. A lot of things to use, how you make things that look good on the page, and all of this. And so I'm going to be doing some of those over on my Google Plus page too. And in fact, already did the little banner top for my Google Plus profile page.
Saw that.
And using some of those same ideas. And I have acquired a lot of followers. I've followed people. Some of them follow back. Some of the ones that follow me, I follow back. But I do pick and choose a little. And by looking at their profile and so forth, I just figure whether they look like a good fit or not. And Roland introduced me to someone just yesterday, or day before, and I'm following her now, and she's following me back. And so it just builds. It keeps growing. It started with no one, and then Roland kind of taught me how to, how to look for followers, and that I should be looking for them. And so now I have quite a few followers on all the different. I'm on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Google Plus, and have quite a few followers on each.
Okay, thank you. So the person you're talking about, I want to connect a few dots now and then, is Leela. Is Leela who you're talking about? Yeah, Leela has a site that she attends to regarding dogs too. So we probably want to talk with her more and see if there's any kind of synchronicity between the two of you and whether you can help each other. That would be good stuff. All right, so anyway, there's more social media interaction there. It's good stuff. Thank you, Barbara. I want to drop back on Duran for a minute and ask him, do you have any specific plans on implementing social media in a focused fashion with what you're doing?
How much time do you have?
I know, that's why I said a minute.
Well, in a general sense, I'll tell you that social media is like, for me, I should say, social media for me, it's like a cat taking a bath, and you need one. You just don't want to get in the water. So, so we're definitely we have definitely social media campaign running for the release of our new service. So we're building new avenues of connections for all of it. But short of that, I think that's as far as I'll share with that today, just because of the time.
Okay. Sorry, I got lost there looking at my comments. Thank you very much, Duran. So you're definitely looking to include more and more effort into the social media aspects of what you're doing.
There's no choice in the matter. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, although many people say fortunately, social media is the future. It's already here, but most people don't realize that it's the future. So search engines are going to go secondary fashion once the social media aspect of the internet has matured.
Yeah, social media is the connective vein vessel network where all the information flow is, from good stuff, bad stuff, personal, testimonials, opinions, and all that stuff. That's all flowing in social. So the thing that we have to do is tap into it and make use of it the best we can. So that's what our jobs are. I'm going to move on at this time to Karen. No. I'm sorry. I'm going to back up. because what happened was I actually met someone before you, and that would be Zara. So I'm going to talk about Zara at this moment, and let her answer the question on how you remember we were meeting, and what our interaction was, and what a part of our journey was.
Hi. I thought you were going to do some kind of intro of something or other. Well, the way we met, the way I met Roland is he actually pinged me on the Hangout stream and said, "Hi, I'm Roland." And we ended up having a conversation. We went on a private hangout. We talked for over 2 hours.
So that's
I mean,
what I
it was
remember.
amazing. It was an amazing connection, and that is how we met. It's just like, plus Roland was gracious enough. I get a lot of people pinging me under the little green quote circle thing, and you know, I have to say this, that manners count just as much online as they do in the real world. And if you start a video chat without saying, "Hi Zara, can we chat for a minute?" and asking if it's an okay time, whoa, you go way down on my list of people I'm going to pay attention to. You know, and that is exactly what Roland did. He, you know, sent me a little message and introduced himself and said, you know, is it possible to chat? As a matter of fact, I think it was impossible for me to chat then. I think we scheduled a different time for the actual chat. It was like a half hour later or something, because I was right in the middle of something. And I just want to say that it goes a long way toward building a foundation for your relationship with someone when you just don't bop in unannounced, that you always ask if it's an okay time. That's just being polite. That's what you would do with your friends in real life. And, you know, if you really want to build connections online, courtesy is important.
Absolutely, and I would fill in the blank on some of the fuzziness on that particular one in a second. But before I go on, Molly wants to have me remind everybody, and that's important. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to post them in the comment stream on the event page, and it will show up in our system, and we'll be able to monitor what questions you have. Today we're really talking about relationship building and how the connectivity, basically the whole concept of one thing leads to another, and how the stream of things went. And Zara, you're absolutely right about our conversation. It was superb. And you know, I thought maybe 15, 20 minutes, and 2 hours later we're talking about life. And
I know, it was just incredible, because I was like, okay, I've got 20 minutes to chat with somebody, you know, and we just kept going, oh this and oh that, and
yeah, we went pretty
connecting
deep.
on so many levels, both personally and professionally. And I think that for a lot of people who come to social media, any platform, you know, and you know, I get people who, if I follow them on Twitter, they're like, hey, go to my X page and X. And I'm like, you know, we don't have a relationship, unfollow. Yeah, you need the relationship first. The relationship is what brings the trust. Because if you're providing value in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's, you know, training dogs or selling clothing or setting up websites for people or anything else you can possibly imagine, whatever your product or service is, it's people first. And I think people really need to understand, especially on Google+, that it is about relationships. And talking to people and talking about, you know, oh, you have a Great Dane. I've never had a Great Dane, but I had an Irish Wolfhound. She was a pretty big girl. You know, that kind of conversation is what what opens up relationships, and you know, it's people buy from people they know, like, and trust. That's the bottom line. And to know, like, and trust you, you have to be real. And so your conversations have to be real. And if you're starting your conversation with "buy my thing," that is not a real conversation. I'll get off my soapbox.
And we very opposite. It was like we started getting to know each other, and it was, I mean, the conversation was more like, "What did you say your cat's name was?"
It was.
Yeah. And getting to know what about our daily lives and the people that we live with, and just, you know, what we like doing other than internet marketing, other than social media. It was like life. You know, that's what where we touched down, and so it was really good. A very good display of relationship building, absolutely. So one of the things is that I actually saw you the first time on Molly's Hangout. I didn't know either one of you, but I went to Molly's Hangout, and why did I go there? Because Barbara referred me to Molly's Hangout. She sent me an invitation and said, maybe you'd like to go to this hangout. So I thought, okay, well, it's referred by Barbara. She knows what I'm all about. She knows me well. I'll take that clue. Click, and I went, and then I saw Molly the first time, and on her show was Zara, and that's the one that Ronnie Binster and Zara were your guests. So that leads me to Molly. So I'd like to turn this over to Molly now and talk about our relationship and how we met and how we get started. And I'm going to contribute something to the end of that.
Great, thanks, Roland. Yeah, that was how we connected. I had hosted, actually it was my very first Google Hangout on Air, and it was for the Google Partners community, and I had invited Zara and Ronnie Bincer to participate because they're both authorities on Google Hangouts on Air, and it really was just a conversation about the benefits of Google Hangouts on Air, but that's really a unique story when somebody who's watching a Hangout can actually refer to someone else, hey, I watched this Hangout and it was really interesting, I think you might find it beneficial. But yeah, that's how we connected, and from there, I believe you had invited me to your weekly show, and in the beginning I had just started watching it, and then eventually you had invited me to become a participant. So it's very interesting how the different relationships form on Google+. Like Zara mentioned, you can reach out to people. It's really, really important to be polite. You know, good customer service skills are important too, and just primarily just trying to engage with people. For me, I have been doing Google Hangouts on Air for a while now. In fact, that's actually how I connected with Zara. Another syncopation of meeting somebody with, I had done a search, just a Google search on, well, how do you host a Google Hangout on Air? And from there, I wound up on the Forbes.com website where Debbie Horovich had hosted a show, and Zara was a guest on there. And from there, Zara and I connected privately, and so that's kind of how our relationship formed. So it's very interesting how you can implement different strategies to connect with people on Google+. And if I had to share one tip, would be engagement. You know, just asking that person, hey, do you have a few minutes to talk? Or hey, I see you do this internet marketing, or I see you have a similar interest of that we may have in common. And so those are just a few little lead-ins that you can use to connect with people on Google+.
Absolutely. Thank you, Molly. And, you know, I remember a little bit more information regarding the initiation of our communications. When I connected with Zara, of course, I circled her first because we had our talk. But I thought, okay, well, I met her through you, and I felt comfortable enough, I circled you. And then so you started getting some notifications from me when we were having our Hangouts on Air, and we literally were getting Hangouts on Air going by the seat of our pants. We did not know a darn thing, but we were having these Hangouts, and we were just getting together. Barbara, Duran, and then you probably joined in, and those are probably two of the faces you saw. and maybe a couple of other people. So we had a handful of maybe 5 people at the time when we started, and we were just doing loose little get-togethers. Whether we recorded or not was not the issue. That we were just getting together and talking. And hang on one second. We wanted to. I just want to interject this when I see them, because I tend to keep talking, and then I miss these prompts. But Karen wanted to bring up. Ron Snaberger says, Walt Disney said the world of business is built on friendship, and nothing could be closer to the heart and soul of what we're saying here today. The relationships are one thing, and then, if we build that relationship to the max, then good business can follow. And that's a principle by which we're presenting all this to you today. So, thank you, Ron. And coming back to you, Molly, you actually joined us when we were having a hangout, and it was just, we weren't doing anything. We were just like kind of visiting.
Yeah, we were just hanging out. I mean, there was no show. There was no specific topic we were talking about. We just were hanging out, talking, introducing ourselves and having fun.
But the funny thing is, you came back the next week and the next week, and then after that, I actually asked you to be a part of a focused program, and I was refining my Hangouts and started to focus on a concept, and that led us on from there. So I want to come back, if we have time, and talk to you and Zara about what your social media focus is as far as promoting your own selves and what you're doing to use social media. Of course, that's all we do is social media, but I would like to know a little bit more about the strategy of your interactions. But I really now, I've been putting her off till the end here, and I've been driving to this point because I really want to bring up Karen and let her speak. And the way, again, I met Karen was going back to Barbara. She sent me an invitation to join Karen's community. And little did I know that when I joined that, my life was going to become inundated with that community. So, Karen, if you would turn your mic on now and come on down and tell everybody a little bit about how we became engaged with your community.
I had actually, last month was a challenge that I created for the Google Plus community called the 28 Days of Love Challenge. And I posted it, I actually was on Zara's show. We could talk about that too in terms of our relationship, Zara, later. I posted it on my profile. I think Molly was the one who then reshared my post with her audience, which I think that's how Barbara was aware of that. So I think that's how we got connected. You came on board, I think, like 2 or 3 days into the challenge, Roland. Okay, day 4. And so for the challenge itself, I had everybody had to post daily. And so if you started day 4 or started day 20, you had to catch up. And Roland was a good sport because he really wanted to join. And so he got himself caught up. And that's how I think we started. I think after that, Roland, you got really involved with the community in terms of posting daily and then getting into the conversations with individuals. And that's where we met, where I said, okay, Roland, we actually have to talk. And I think how that came about was that Roland is very much a prolific writer. And so we had a conversation about his writing. And in the sense that, I was trying to help him out to say that you don't necessarily need to write 1,500 words on a post. That's called a blog, and that's how I learned Roland was also a blogger, and where Roland as a web designer and all these other things about him I did not know about. So that's kind of our conversation. And I think between Molly and Zara, that the other thing that came about was that we had, a 2+ hour conversation that day? Wasn't it about 2+ hours? Easily, right? And so that's kind of, I think, at least how I feel that we didn't meet through karaoke like you and Darren, but we did meet through my challenge, and you have been vastly a great integral part of the community. I think for those who are watching out there could attest of your involvement and your commitment to the community.
Well, thank you. Yeah, as I always say, little did I know that I was going to become overwhelmed. And part of it was that I realized that there were people around the world that were worth getting to know. And your community was set up so that they were teaching each other and showing each other and educating each other and sharing a lot of worthwhile stuff on a variety of subjects. And plus, it wasn't just the subjects, it was people's interpretation of the subjects. So it was wide open. And we just discovered a lot about people. And of course, as people will do, they write about things they love, which means they really focus on what means the most to them. So as they're doing this, we're really discovering a lot about the people who are participating in the community, which made it a very, very tight community. By the end of the last week of posting, it was like, man, this is one heck of a group of friends we got going, and that really shocked me as it is. So, we got Kristin. Hi, lady. We're going to bring you on in just a minute, and you just perfect timing, absolutely perfect timing. So.
So Roland, what I was going to say also too, in terms of tips, I think for folks, if you post every day, or at least try to post every day, sooner or later you're going to have like-minded people following you, because you're going to attract them. And I take baby steps when I first started, where I started sharing things that I was interested in and that had my key on. So I post a lot about social media. I post a lot about my different hobbies, and I'm finding that, and this is I think what I didn't realize, which I think it does work now, because you and I have met, and Barbara, we've met that way too, is that if you take it from the side of, like, if you're only going to talk about business all day long, I think you don't necessarily attract the right, not that you don't attract the right people, but people don't find that as interesting. But if you talk about something like dogs or flowers, or something that's not business related, that's where I think people start forming those relationships, and then you have those kind of conversations, which then turn around to say, so okay, now that we know that we like dogs, what do you actually do? So that, to me, that's kind of how at least in terms of how I form relationships on social media.
That's really a perfect subject, because one of the things that we say is, we say quit your pitching, and we like that, because as the pitching goes up, the sales and interaction goes down. And what the today's marketers, about 80% of the online advertisers are not they're not looking at the fact that as soon as they devise this campaign and it's really neat and tidy, and they go along and they say, and then you lower the boom right here, you hit them up with the offer, and then you convert them and you drive them down your funnel, and you field all their objections, and you just wipe it out so that all they can do is say yes. And then it becomes a question is, do I want to buy your product or not? And if they don't know who you are, you're dust. I mean, your funnel might work perfectly, but if they have no relationship with you, it's worthless. So one of the things that I've been many years now is I basically turn Maslow's hierarchy of needs upside down, and the sales concepts upside down, and a lot of different things. And the end result is I just don't sell myself. I don't sell my products. I just talk to people and get to know them. And by the time that we've spent time doing that, the relationships guarantee that if I am selling something, they're going to ask me, or they're going to listen, and they're going to consider me, not because my product is A, Y, or Z, but because they know, like, and trust me. And then from there, you can build something of a relationship. And that's the relationships that's going to stay long enough to turn those people into raving fans and brand ambassadors, and that's all you want. You don't want a bunch of one-offs or people who are buying frivolously. You want the people who like and appreciate what you've got, buy it, and it's a complete deal. So
Yeah, I think trust is totally key. And when you think about it with social media now, that if you don't trust the individual, you're not going to even listen to them. You're tuned out. You're tuned out. You're not even paying attention to that individual. But if you trust somebody, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if the person says, for example, I like this restaurant, and you trust them, you're going to go to that restaurant because you believe you know that person. That person's not going to sell you wrong because in the past the person has probably recommended 4 other restaurants and you like them. And so I think that's where the followers that come from in the like-minded folks is that when you're posting hopefully on a frequent basis, they're building that relationship with you, and that's the engagement, and that's where you can. I hate the word sell. I don't like the word sell. It's more about telling people that here's some ideas or suggesting them, and not the hard sell. I guess that's what my big pet peeve is the way that companies keep pushing, as they say with outbound marketing. You just push, and it's to the point where you get turned off by it.
yeah, absolutely. There's a factor that was presented to me, and I'm going to totally do this person a disservice because and I may not even remember the quote, but it had to do with convincing versus conversation. And if your objective is to convince someone you're right, field the questions, field the objections, and then drive them down to like, oh yeah, I guess I gotta buy your thing, they're very resistant. There's a lot of negativity, and chances are they're going to say, I'm not going to buy right now. I'll give it some more thought. And if they delay and walk away, chances are the sale's lost. So that's a really, really good point when it comes to business, which is what this Hangout is all about. You definitely have to build the relationship. And speaking of relationships, we've got one more blank to fill because everyone else, you're just perfectly on time, Kristin. And what I would like you to do is present to our audience today listening a little bit about how you and I met, how we got started, and a little bit about our journey up to this point. Hang on, Kristin. We have an issue with your microphone, and you're coming off with like the little squirrel again. Oh, I guess she's going to reinstitute, and hopefully that'll solve our problem there. In the meantime, while we're waiting for Kristin, hang on, I wanted to see what it is that Karen is bringing to mind, and let's see. Oh, Tammy Durden. It is great to meet people from all over the world, not just our country. I read a report that discussed that we will soon have no language barrier in talking to people everywhere. What do you think about that? We will address that in a bit when we finish our little journey here. And Karen, if you would keep that handy and please bring it back up to me because I have a few things that I would like to say. But meanwhile, we're going to get back to Kristin and see if our mic's doing better.
Okay. Am I still alien? Chipmunk?
No, you're fine now. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know why it does that. Well, okay, so what I was saying is, like so many good things on the Plus, I think it really began with Zara. I saw her coming on your show, and I was like, oh, cool. A Saturday show. And so I just, I trust Zara completely, 100%, like probably 190,000%, if that's even possible. So I just like followed behind, and then I saw like you were just so nice, and I had missed the timing, and you came back and you're like, oh, we're gonna try to make this right, and you were just so like overly gracious, and I was just like, wow, this is really cool. This is like someone that goes the extra mile. I want to get involved here.
Wait a minute, were you talking about me or Zara?
Oh, no, Zara just like she just like pointed the light, because she was coming on your show.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
anytime Zara's on a show, I'm like, I want to go and see that because you just have your favorite people that you just
yeah.
They're such a part of like who you become that you don't want to miss them.
Thank you. And what I remember the most about you was that your name popped up and you're involved in many of the comment streams, that you participate in a lot of different, discussions. And I was realizing, God, everybody knows this chick. What's going on here? And I thought, well, if she's engaging in that at that level, and everyone's speaking of her, then it's somebody that I want to pay attention to. And that's when the whole concept of Queen of Hashtags and the debate about your title came in. I thought, okay, good enough for me. I'm going to have her on my show. We're going to talk about hashtags. And that was a really successful two-part series as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
But,
that was really cool. I think we all learned something.
Yeah.
Numerous things.
Well, I had so much to learn, and I could not have been the only one, so I'm hoping that many people benefited from the discussion and went on to learn more about hashtags. And like Karen is continuously teaching us more about hashtags, so we've got a stream of input that is educational and so forth.
Yeah, that's awesome to be having like something that it's an ongoing project because you just learn from the analytics and everything. Good job, Karen.
One thing that I just realized ties a lot of this together is that the people in Karen's community, the people interacting here in this room right now, in this digital room, there's a lot of flow of education. Everybody's learning stuff, and everybody's helping each other, and that's the kind of thing that builds up relationships. So, I mean, that's something that we share in common and that we're really giving, and it takes that back to something that I've been talking about for years. You have to be willing to get into this business giving first. You have to give of yourself. You have to, commit yourself to helping people and give, and not have in the back of the mind, now, how am I going to monetize this, and how am I going to talk them into a sale, and so forth? Because as soon as you do that, it's not genuine anymore.
And for some people that maybe just coming on to the Plus, or maybe don't have business experience, or they're just at the start of whatever they're doing, I just want to put it in this perspective that you can give as a student as well, because a teacher with no students has no one to pass anything on to.
Good point. So
I want to illustrate. Buy me. That's what it feels like. It's just all this stuff is going on, and all of a sudden somebody pops in and they go, hey, buy me, I got this thing, and you're like, what? We were talking about our puppies. I'm sorry, I just had to do that because that's really how it feels when it's intrusive. It's intrusive. When people come into a conversation and try to divert it off to their sales, whatever that is.
And it's so out of character that you just you wonder, okay, is their mental health all right?
Yeah, you do.
Well, it immediately makes you wonder, have you been waiting all this time just to hit me up with what I'm trying to sell? It's like the word insincerity definitely jumps into the whole scheme of things, and then all of a sudden it's like your lack of trust factor is increased by tenfold, and you think, I see, now I've got you figured out. Well, all she wants to do is sell me something, or all he wants to do is make me do this, or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've got a filter barrier against that problem. And the relationships you can build in social media tear down barriers and build the relationship, because the more you get to know somebody, the more you trust them. And most of the time nowadays you find out that you've got more in common with people when you share what it is you stand for, and when you get to know them completely and extensively, you realize, yeah, I'm on your side. I mean, we have a few slight differences, our ages are different, our whatever different, but I'm on your side. And then you've got a fan, and then you've got someone that you can work with, and a friend at that. So I want to interject at this time and I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully I've got it set up right. But I wanted to draw a picture of what it is that sharing can do. So let me know when you can see this. Okay, you guys see the picture all right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Looks a little like my brain on Saturday morning.
That's exactly what I was trying to express here. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so what you see is a series of dots, but we're gonna connect the dots now, and make this make a little bit of sense. I was from left to right entering into the sequence of social media right here. So let's say that's Roland. Okay, and we were talking about 6 degrees of syncopation. And when I got involved in this a long, long time ago was because Duran introduced me to web design. So all of a sudden Duran came along. Many, many years later, in the midst of social media and LinkedIn, I met Barbara, who then introduced me to some people. And after we built our relationship, she felt comfortable about introducing me to somebody else. And lo and behold, Zara popped in. Well, I think it's impossible to get involved with Zara and not get involved with Molly. And then so we started building more relationships. And from there, Barbara came along again and introduced me to Karen. And Karen, in her community, and everyone knows Kristin. It's like that is how the line is drawn from point A to point B, and there is the completion. Now, with this little sphere of people that I have with me today in the Hangout, those are the 6 degrees of syncopation. And what I want you to notice in the midst of this is that we are not solo dots. We are all connected to a dozen more things. We're connected all around and back and forth and so forth. We're connected to each other, and we're connected to everyone else in the world. And when you think of this, this is just a diagram. There are no limits to what we can connect to. And of course, when you talk about law of attraction, you start talking about, well, you're technically connected spiritually to everybody. And then it's just a matter of whether you strengthen that bond or not. And you can only spend so much time strengthening bonds, but the concentration of getting to know someone and spending time getting to know them really, really strengthens the bond and makes them an asset to your spiritual self, and therefore your business self, therefore your friendly self, and so forth. So when you look at those dots, all of a sudden it's like, man, it's not just a straight line, It kind of mixes it up a bit. So that's what networking and social media can do. The black and white and the colored dots of it all, and also the person-to-person relationships one-on-one. So now I just like to open it up because I know that people want to say some stuff, maybe ask some questions, and we'll take a few minutes doing that. But if anyone in the panel has something that they want to contribute or some aha relative to what we've been talking about, to say, we really need to bring this to mind. And while you're thinking about that, we're going to talk about Tammy Durden's idea of it's great to meet people all over the world. And the language barrier and that stuff, as she was talking about. Let's present this to everybody, make sure you can see it. And yeah, I think that language is less and less a barrier, and the internet has broken down the connective opportunities so that we can connect, and then it's just a matter of if people want to learn a common language or not. And there's enough connectivity and enough people that you're going to find people everywhere. And not everybody speaks your language, but somebody in various places are going to speak your language. That's an absolute. So it's crossing barriers, geographical and cultural barriers, and there are really very few of those things anymore. Let's see what Rain Dallas saying. Let's see. Rain says, I agree. It's great to share what you know, what you're passionate about, and what you stand for. Everyone is at a different learning curve, and even those who've been on Google Plus for a while still have things to learn, and maybe that's someone who is. Is there a continuation of that?
Yeah, it says who is new might know already someone how. So many different ways to learn and people to learn from. It's social media at its finest, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely, I call your opinion gold, Rain, because it's like the internet is a strange place. A decade or so ago, and really not that many years ago, people were black hat programming to get Google pages, page one, for their website and stuff. And now all of a sudden, Google had its updates, Penguin, Panda, Hummingbird, etc., and they can't do it anymore. It's like, wow, those guys all have to change their tactics. And suddenly, social media is more prolific in connecting and search resulting than SEO. So it's a wild world out there, and we are all learning. So how's everybody doing? We're just about the end of our hour, so if anyone has any final statements to encourage networking and social media and various ideas on tactics on how to do it, now is our chance.
I think, Roland, we have to have maybe a round 2 or maybe a round 3. This sounds like this could be definitely another series of shows, because I think we just started again. We got the setup now. We actually need to get more of the, as you call it, meat on the bones. So maybe another show.
I'm game. You guys want to meet next week?
Yes, I second that. I think we should do another show. I have a few stories I'd like to share. I know we're at the end of our hour, but yeah, I have some other contributions I'd like to share on the subject.
Well, then let's definitely plan it and interact and talk about the format for next week. Because obviously this week I basically wanted to expose myself and say I will be the dummy and put myself out there and be the goat, And we will use the example of me. 4 months ago, November 1st, Molly and Duran and Barbara, we were doing those schlockhouse schmuck hangouts with no finesse and no lower third and no nothing, but they turned into what we're doing right now. So, we've come a long way, and there's more to improve upon, but we're doing okay. So, I guess the conclusion is, and I unfortunately I wasn't watching. I think we lost Zara. She had to go. So, thank you, Zara. And so she told me earlier that she'd have to go. But definitely we can spend more time on this. The idea is that relationships are what it's all about. Based on relationships, you build connections throughout the internet and social media, and it turns into communities if you know what you're doing.
And it's all about who you know, just like in real life. I mean, because this is real life. I think I really come to look at that expression IRL. I don't really like it anymore, because this is real life. There's nothing about it that's not real. It's concrete. And then the amount of these associations that turn into, I'm going to jump on a plane and go and meet you because I've just been waiting for a year to hug you. Those are just amazing moments.
Yeah, that's true. We in Karen's community, I even suggested that one of the guys who wants to get his pilot's license, I suggested, well, get your pilot's license, get a plane, pick, 2 trips around the world. One to pick everybody up, and then another to fly us around the world. And we joked about that, but the sympathetic participation was that yeah, I would. The thought is really attractive, and getting the people and being able to meet them face to face. It was like the fear of doing it was gone. It would be like, well, if we could afford to do it, we would do it. And
And
that was
how many
amazing.
times, like, have you, I don't know if anyone else here, but like has experiences, but like if you hear that someone's in your area, or you like see they could just be making a post or something, or they could be on Foursquare or whatever, and you know that they're here, it's like you drop everything to try and meet them.
Absolutely. Molly, was there something that you would like to do to wrap us up over here?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that for myself, I've been actually testing social media for over a year now, and I can attest that it does work. I'm not going to talk too much about it today, but I'd just like to remind our viewers that if you have an opportunity to meet with us next Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel, we're going to go ahead and I'll be more than happy to embellish upon my war story that I'd like to share.
Okay, we'll bring our war stories next week, and it sounds good to me. It's time for me to wrap it up. We're 5 minutes, 6 minutes over. And I thank my panel members for joining me today to help me tell my story. And I'm so glad you made it near the end there. Kristin, don't worry about being late because the story was complete, and the Magnificent Seven got to show their faces, so and so forth. So, the takeaway to this is remember, everybody, social media engagement takes you to be able to be there and participate, but one thing definitely can lead to another. So let's say goodbye. Thank you, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye. That's the glitch of the day. I'm having trouble turning it off.
Oh dear. You know what? This has happened before to people, and they've just gone on and on and on. So we'll see.
Well, what I'll do is I'm gonna close this out and then rejoin with everybody in a new hangout. Okay. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you in just a minute. Bye-bye.